All right, traders, I'm going to be doing an in-depth price action analysis on the SPY. This is going to be going over the key make it or break it levels on the SPY. I'm going to be sharing with you the key levels that we're interested in potentially buying the dip and the key levels that we're interested in potentially short selling and buying put options at the resistance, right? I'm going to show you how you can trade SPY both ways heading into this week. And make sure you subscribe to the channel because I'm going to continue to keep you updated with these new key make it or break it levels as the levels are always changing as the days go by. With that being said, I'm going to break it down for you and I'm going to share with you this money making information. So here's what I want you to understand about SPY is we are at such an interesting key critical true make it or break it level. So let's go over this, right? You can see right here, this is a wick and these are 30-minute candles, right? So this is a nice bottom wick with some very nice upside potential to about $380 before it sells off, right? And you could see right here that the SPY has finally showed a potential sign of reversing the trend to micro bullish. And let me explain to you why. This is a key support level with nice short-term upside potential to 380. And then you can see as time goes on, it went even higher. But the point is it bottomed at $374 and it rocketed to 380, right? Well, you could see right here, it bottomed at that same $374 support level, but this time it topped out right here at 376, which was your previous support reacting as a resistance. Therefore, instead of it rallying to the 390s, it turned this key support into resistance, which is bearish. That means it's going to try to really crack this support right here and go to the next overall support level, which is all the way down here towards 370s, and it went even lower, right? So the trend was flipping bearish because previous support reacted as a resistance. Now, this is a sign, and this is how you're going to be able to identify if the bulls have truly flipped the trend. This is what I want to go over now. So, what was the move of the bulls flipping the trend? This was the move. Your previous support is now at this 374. It cracks, big sell off. It bounces back up to that previous support, just like it did right here. And what does it do? It sells off again because the trend is bearish. Do you see these opportunities in short selling the rips when previous support reacts as a resistance? When you confirm that it's a roof, when it looks bearish with the 1 minute, 5 minute candles and whatever else bearish indicators, bearish signals that you use to confirm if previous support is reacting as resistance. Now, this is where it gets interesting, and this is the bulls attempting to flip the micro trend to actually bullish. Let's go into this. So this would be your new overall previous support. It would have to crack this and react as a resistance. You could see it came back down to it, but it reacted as support. Then it started breaking out. The bulls are trying to flip the trend. Came back to it again, and then it started forming lower highs. But this is where it gets interesting. This previous low is no longer reacting as resistance. It never reacted as a resistance. It never formed that lower high. It never cracked as of recent. And this is how you can tell that the bulls are trying to flip the trend right here. This is what I wanted to bring awareness to as well. So that's one reason why the trend could be changing, but this is the true reason. So this right here, your 370 support, right? 370 support cracks, big downside potential. Pops back up, previous support reacts as a resistance. That means it's going to try to crack, but not guaranteed to crack. But it did go back to that support, right? That's why I lock in profits. I lock in profits on the dips. I don't hope for a crack and a bigger win, right? I lock in my profits because there's no guarantee that the trend's going to continue to remain bearish. And I don't want to get caught up in a super bullish reaction key level at support, right? So in terms of, short selling, I'm short selling pops resistance, previous support reacts as resistance. Now, this is where it gets interesting. This support level at 374 reacts as a resistance, bearish. It bottomed at support. It failed to go lower. It failed to turn the low into resistance, which means the bulls are going to attempt to flip the trend. So the point I'm making here is it breaks out, pulls back, and look where it just bottomed. It bottomed at that 374. So this is where we're at. The bulls are attempting to flip the trend because it bottomed at that previous resistance. It had a breakout. It went lower, and then it rocketed back up, forming lower highs. So that's kind of a bearish sign. But it's still bottoming at that previous resistance. The bulls are trying to take control. They're trying to turn this 374 into a support level, right? So here's what's going to happen. If the previous closing price breaks out and reacts as a support level, you see it gapping up. You see it forming a floor at 376. You see it break above this. The trend's going to flip micro bullish, and what it's going to do is it is going to go back to the overall resistance level, which was right here towards this $380 level. So what I'm telling you is If SPY can break above 376, right, and turn that into strong support, it breaks above the previous closing price, 376.35. It's reacting green, it has a small little move up, it stays green, it forms higher support. We're going to see the next resistance level hit. It's going to break out and it's going to hit right here towards this wick, towards this overall $380 level, which is also key previous support on the daily. If you look at the daily chart, basically if it breaks above this 376 level, the closing price of this candle, it's going to rally to the next overall previous support level, which is right here at like $380. That's where it's going to go, right? For the bears to remain in control for the micro for the very short term, like heading into tomorrow, what they would need to do is they would need to turn $376 into resistance. They would then need to break below 374. If they can break below 374, turn that into resistance, we're going to see a pullback to 371, right? So that's where we're at. Just understand. We're in a little micro battle here. 374 support, lower highs, cracks, big downside potential. Pops back up, previous support reacts as a resistance, nice downside potential back to these lows. It failed to crack these lows. It bottomed at these lows. It even had a breakout all the way to nearly 380. And now what it's doing is it's turning that 374 into support, which is a sign of a bullish micro reversal. It failed to go lower. It failed to turn these lows into resistance. It failed to turn 374 into resistance. It was turning into resistance right here. Now it's turning into support, right? So if they stay above that 376, it's going to rocket to 380. That's what I want you to understand about tomorrow. So that's where we're at in terms of the chart. This is where we're at. We're towards the top of a micro channel, kind of like the middle top towards some resistance, right? This 376.35 is make or break. Breaks out, forms a floor, reacts to support, rallies to 380. Reacts as a resistance, breaks down, it's going to try to crack 374. If 374 cracks, bloodbath to 371. That's where it goes. It goes to 371, right? So if it goes under 374, we go to 371. If it breaks above 376, turn support, we go to 380. And that's where we're at, right? So just understand where we're at. This is the channel. The top of the channel is like 380. The bottom of the channel, we're going to say, is like 370, right? So right now, we're towards the upper middle, right? We're towards the upper middle. One thing we do know is, in terms of being bullish in this market, it's not too smart to be buying breakouts when SPY is high on the daily chart. So is SPY considered high on the daily chart? It's towards that upper middle. We're towards that upper middle. You see, you got a lot of resistance at this 380 with nice downside potential to new 52-week lows. So one thing I will say is, one of the best things you can do if you see this breaking out and reacting bullish is, this is what I would say. I would say the initial reaction of testing this $380 level, study that 380. If you see it reacting bearish, forming some resistance, topping out, I would look to scalp put options. I would go to 380 at the money strike, scalp some put options only on the initial test, on the initial reaction, right? So Will, what is your key price alerts? What are the prices that you are interested in trading on the SPY? Well, the previous closing price, 376.35, right? So not all previous closing prices are created equally, but my favorite setups are trading at the previous closing price, looking for those green to red moves, red to green moves, right? Identifying if it's support or resistance, making a quick scalp, basically from barely out of the money at that previous closing price to then in the money. So I'm going to set one price alert at the previous closing price. Boom, we got that set. Then I'm going to set another price alert at or above $379 and 40 cents. We'll put 33, and I want to look towards 380, right around there. And then the overall last price alert that I'll set will be under $375, under 375. If it cracks under 375, it's likely going to hit 374. No guarantee that cracks. But if this looks bearish at 375, I'll probably scalp a put in the middle of this channel. But the true best level would be that previous closing price, right? So what I would do is I would mainly focus on 2 levels tomorrow. I would focus on, actually 3 levels. I would focus on these 3 levels: 374, 376.35. That's like your best middle, and 380. That's what I would focus on. I would focus on those 3 levels, right? And I just want you to be aware of this, man, because this is so key heading into this week. Like I said, initial reaction. This is previous support. Your previous support is like a zone. You could say the zone is like 380 to 382. That's your zone, this little micro zone. If that reacts as a resistance, it's going to pull back to like 376. That's what it's going to do. So pay attention to the previous support right around here reacting as a resistance. If you see this breaking out, it flips bullish, pay attention to the 380 level, 380 to 382, right? Test this previous support, look for it to react as a resistance. Boom. Nice sell-off, nice sell-off. Pay attention to that. So those are my overall thoughts. That's my overall analysis on the SPY. And yeah, I'm going to leave it off at that. So those are going to be the top 3 levels that I'm interested in heading in tomorrow. And like I said, just understand, if 376 reacts bullish, it forms a floor. We're on track for 380. Likely going to see an initial pullback at 380. Confirm it with resistance in bearish candlesticks, lower highs resistance. If 375 cracks, we're going to go to 374. If that cracks, then we go to 371. That's what you need to understand for the very short-term micro focus level. And we should see some sort of micro pullback at 380, at 380 to 382. If not, then like 384 for sure. So those are my overall key levels. That's what I'm interested. What's going to really help us determine the trend tomorrow is, like I said, how SPY reacts to the previous closing price. Look at this. This is make it or break it. We're about to see a big move on the SPY. This is where look at this, man. This is a huge move coming up. This is 376. Massive upside. If that reacts as a resistance and takes out 375, we're likely going to see some nice downside at 371. If it breaks above 376.30 and forms support, we're going to see a nice move. We're going to see a nice move to 380s, right? So pay attention to the trend. Understand, bulls flip this for the micro and go super bullish if it breaks above 376.35 and they turn into support. The bears, in order for them to take control for the micro, the reality is they need to go under 374. They cannot break above 376.35. That needs to react as a resistance. Then they need to crack 374, and then it's a bloodbath, right? So just understand, bloodbath under 374, super bullish run above 376.50. What's going to determine that is going to be this previous closing price. That's truly what's going to determine the overall direction, the previous closing price, and then also pay attention to 374. But I'm telling you, it's going to be this previous closing price, man. It's make or break. It's make or break. So just be aware of that. Previous closing price reacts as bullish, is forming support, it's breaking above, it's bullish, 380s. Previous closing price reacting as resistance, it's bearish. It's bearish. It's going to try to crack 374 and go to 371. That's what I need you to understand. So heading into tomorrow, I need you to be laser focused on determining if 376.35 is a roof or if it is a support level, and then take advantage of those scalping opportunities once you have that determination as close as possible to this price. So if I were to scalp call options because it looks bullish in this sense, I would be going with the closest strike out of the money, right? So if the price is at 376.50 and I get in, I would go to 377 strike. If it looks bearish at 376 and I want to buy some puts, I would go with a 376 strike. That's what I would do. So basically at the money. That's what I do. I get in, I get out. I'm simply determining if this is a roof or if this is a floor. Once I can determine that, I make a trade and I do not risk much because I understand if 376 reacts bullish and I'm in a bearish trade, it's going to run the 380s. If 376 reacts bearish and I'm in a bullish trade, trend flips, then it's going to be on track for 371. So I'm not going to hold through that. That we are at a true make it or break it level where an explosive move is about to occur. And I'm able to identify that because I see the volatility. I'm looking at the 30-minute candles. I'm looking at the daily chart, and I'm seeing the reactions right here. If it pushes above 376, we rip to 380s, and it can go a lot higher. If we break below 376 right here, we rip back down to 371. This is true make or break. So we must study and put ourselves in that position to succeed. We must be very competent and not emotional heading into tomorrow. We must simply determine if it is a roof or if it is a floor, if it's resistance or if it's support. Once we have that determination, we make our trade. If it goes against us, we cut our losses quickly, and we could even flip sides if we wanted to, not that we need to, right? And then in terms of other levels that I would pay attention to, besides that determination, that's going to be your key level heading into tomorrow. based into later into the week, once we have that determination, look for a potential reversal. Best level would be 384. I do want to see how it reacts towards 380 to 382, but the overall best level for puts would be like this 384 to 382, not even 380, but I want to see how it reacts to 380 for a potential reversal, right? Bearish confirmations, initial reactions only. And then if it flips super bearish for calls reversal, go with like 369. That's the best thing you can really do for that. So those are the micro updates. There's obviously a lot more updates with macro. We're not going to be discussing the overall macro, but that's what you need to know right now. Make sure you're subscribed, because I'm going to go over macro updates in the future, along with the newly updated micro updates with the previous closing prices and the new key levels, right? So with that being said, I'm looking forward to trading with you guys tomorrow within Trader Society. If you do want to be a part of Trader Society, it's going to be the first link down below in the description. You can join us tomorrow trading live. So I'm going to wrap it up, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in, and I'll see you in the next one.